My gosh.
The aircraft gently rotating in hurricane-force winds.
Look at that thing.
But these clips are hardly the creations of a sci-fi studio. They're unedited footage released from the federal government. With recent congressional hearings spotlighting how serious the issue has become.
Much like other suspect fires, such as Paradise, California, there have been several strange situations involving the recent fires in Maui. In the middle of an area untouched by the fire, a random car with melted glass.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And melted aluminum alloy wheels. And NORAD tracked CCP satellites directly above all three fires at the same time of ignition. Many people are saying it's like directed energy weapons. And we are not getting any answers from our criminal government. A viral video of the Lahaina Pentecostal Church shows what appears at first glance to be an electrical fire in the ceiling. But how is everything in the church pristine? Except for the portion of the roof seam and the wall at one end. Many are saying this looks like a laser cut through the roof.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
There is an area with just a few buildings that have been totally devastated by the fire, while everything surrounding them has been untouched. It is unclear how these random buildings even caught on fire.
And obviously the building next door is fully intact, no structural damage, no fire damage whatsoever. And then you have this building here. You can see the scuba tanks in there. This was one of the dive shops. You can see it's completely and utterly burned from the inside out.
There are vehicles in untouched areas of the fire that somehow completely burnt out. Once again, melted glass and alloy wheels.
Right? Little parking lot, gravel. Everything's looking good. Those cars are probably working somewhere. These have been here for a while. But then this thing, and I know it didn't get moved here because you can still see the scorch marks on the building. Okay, so how'd this thing catch fire? Scorch marks, right? It was definitely burning right here. Just a random car fire? Random truck fire? Okay, look at this, look at this. How could this car, okay, the building is perfectly fine. We got a concrete parking lot, right? I mean, even the trees are still good. And yet we got this guy. I mean, this car is melted, bro. This thing got absolutely melted. I mean, there's nothing. Someone probably threw that water bottle in there, but look at this thing, man. Now talk to me, people. Somebody, not a conspiracy theorist, but somebody that understands something about fires. Tell me, in the midst of this fire, is there an ember that's big enough that could float over here, incinerate this car, melt it, and nothing else around it? I don't think it was moved here, right? I don't think it was moved here. It's just tripping me out. How'd it catch fire? What happened? I don't even see flame marks back there. I see marks here, brown, black. You can see it happened here, right?
What dimension did we cross over that now wood survives fire? But other objects turned to piles of ash. Many of the piles of ashes that appears to have been metal.
Why is all this on fire? And why did it all? There's not even a structure here. But again, I don't know. Just piles of ashes of stuff that was clearly made out of some kind of tin foil or metal or something. The metal really took a hammering on this fire. If you were metal, I mean wood, you're kind of good, right? Wood, yeah, you're not too bad. You're metal, you're done.
We are not getting any answers from our criminal government, and the victims of Lahaina are being completely ignored, while the government funnels money to Israel.
And the metal culvert is melted. Look at the metal culvert. Look at that. That's a metal culvert, man. It melted. And just a little bit of grass, right? Why is that metal culvert charred?
And a frog has been found frozen in mid-jump, suggesting an instantaneous flash of high energy.
This right here is a toad,
that is petrified or mummified in mid-leap.
All I'm offering is the truth.
So you can see the angle of it. It's not squatting down. It's very symmetrical in every way that it is. And you can see those legs just jumping. So whatever it is that happened.
You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that you somehow managed to hire a private firefighting team to protect your land before the fires started.
What?
You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that instead of taking some of that land and housing even a small portion of those displaced people, you've hired a private security team to keep them off your land. You're so concerned about Maui that you simply haven't had time to denounce any of the shady real estate deals which are robbing people of everything they have. You know, like the ones you were involved in that helped you acquire that land for pennies on the dollar of what it was actually worth. You're so concerned about Maui that instead of taking what would amount to a year's salary for you and 4 or 5 of your billionaire friends, which could be used to rebuild the entire place in a matter of months, you're jumping on social media and asking the American public, most of whom can't afford to pay their rent right now, to do it for you. You're so concerned about Maui that it's more important that you get social media points than that you help.
And so we appreciate any support that you can give all the people who were calling me and texting me and messaging me and saying, what do I do? What do I do? This is what you do. The People's Fund of Maui. Fund of Maui.
هذا يا جماعة الخير مكان المجزرة الذي ارتكبها الاحتلال الصهيوني في حق المدنيين الآمنين في مشفى الأهلي.
Thank you all for being here today. It is unacceptable that any mid-level unelected bureaucrat staffers can tell members of Congress that we are not allowed to access information about UAPs. Let me be clear that we are the representatives of the elected, or that of people that sent us here to do the right thing. Unelected bureaucrats do not get to say what we can and cannot see. We've had 3-star generals tell us that we did not have authorized access to this information. But yet, how do you expect us to continue to send taxpayer money to fund government projects if you're not even allowing us to see what those projects are? And I say that because, as some of you know, we have been consistently hearing that we have not had the authorized clearances, again, by people not elected to office. Let me repeat this, that people's representatives, members of Congress who sit on judiciary, armed services, and the oversight committees are being denied access to this information. But if we do not have the clearance, who does?
And Congress has a right, an obligation to know.
Does this sound like a truly free country?
It's about accountability. The truth is out there, and the American people are ready.
Members have stonewalled our efforts to get referencing Rush. I know that there was many questions in regards to what was happening with his current IG report, whether or not we were able to receive access to that information. We were previously denied this. We have now received permission from him directly to go back into the SCIF to review that information. But in my short time in office, it has become very clear and evident that there is an apparent an orchestrated attempt to deny us this access, and it appears that that is coming from the intelligence want to go forward with fake promises to the American people. I'd also like to speak on the issue that some members have stonewalled our efforts to get transparency, and this is also
time for transparency.
And that really just is transparency. I think the American people have a simple question, which is, if none of this exists, if this is all false, why at every turn are there people trying to stop the transparency and the disclosure? Why are folks who are in charge of committees, whether they are in the House or in the Senate, opposed to this disclosure? And it's that point alone that piques the interest, right? And that's really what we're about. This is not about whether there are aliens or there are not aliens, right? Those are questions that I think remain unanswered, right? It's not whether there is stuff we have found here or not found here. Those questions remain unanswered. The problem is when we ask those questions, right, rather than being provided information that would prove it false, they stonewall the information. And that is what piques the interest. Foreign objects are buzzing around in our airspace.
We are here today because all of the whistleblowers, the hearings, the investigations, the discussions, the work that we have done,
This is about accountability and about transparency.
time for transparency.
This is about accountability and about transparency.
It's worse than you can imagine.
Congress has a right and obligation to know. This is about transparency. This is about accountability. The truth is out there in the American people.
It's worse than you can imagine. Everything that you suspect about the federal bureaucracy is doing, they're almost certainly doing. And it's nearly impossible to get a straight answer. It's worse than you can imagine.
Famously, Graves told members of the House Oversight Committee about a close encounter his squadron had in 2014.
Two F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft.
Graves said he spoke to that lead pilot right after he canceled the flight.
He had a look of shock on his face, and this is someone that I've been flying with for years at this point, almost on a daily basis. He just went, I almost hit one of those damn things. And he didn't even have to describe it because we knew what he was talking about, because it had been such an issue at this point.
Graves hasn't ruled out possible explanations like high-end technology or the work of foreign adversaries, but he says some aspects of the sightings cannot be explained. And through his new group, Americans for Safe Aerospace is calling for more robust channels to report UAPs and government transparency.
Your Honor, you doctored the logbook. Damn it, Kathy! You coerced the doctor.
Consider yourself engineer.
Is our government withholding aliens and advanced technology?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
It's worse than you can imagine. Everything that you suspect about the federal bureaucracy is doing, they're almost certainly doing. It's worse than you can imagine. Everything that you